Um, Actually, I feel really honoured and slightly nervous about starting off this evening. What Patrick said is absolutely true. And I've been asked to speak for about 5 minutes about Tony. It may not be 5 minutes, it may be more than 5 minutes, you may have to shut me up, I'm not quite sure, this is off the cuff. I hope you'll read what I've written about Tony, because that's what I really felt and thought about Tony. But I will just say one or two things, more personal and more specific about him. Was I his mentor? I'm not sure. I think we were too much equals for me to call myself that. We did meet through poetry, and he became what I would call a very profound poetry friend. We shared tastes in poems, we swapped poems, and from the time that I met him at a reading, he came regularly, all the way from Cookhamdean to Hitchin, just about once a month, for 20 years to my workshops. And the workshops are workshops. They're places where we work at our poems. They aren't places where I teach them how to write poems. They're where poets meet and work on their poems together. And he came regularly. So the first thing I would say about Tony is that he is probably one of the most loyal people I have ever met. He was loyal as a friend. He was fantastically loyal as a student. And also, he was hard-working. He'd been a scientist all his life. You can't be a slouch if you're a scientist. And he brought the same kind of commitment and hard draft to his poetry that I imagine he had done to his work as a research scientist. Yes, there's the inspiration to write the poem, because his poems came from the heart, always. They were written from the heart and with the head, I would say. But he knew that a good poem had to be worked at, that it didn't come out necessarily ready-made, and he wasn't at all afraid to put the hard graft in. So he was a wonderful student as well, loyal and hard-working. And as interested, and this is really important if you're going to work in a workshop with people, he was as interested in other people's poems as he was in his own. He was the most un-ego-centered person you could possibly have. Those are the main things I'd like to say about him. You know him by reading his poems, which is one of the things I've said in the things that I've written. If you want to know Tony, read his poems. Everything about his life is in them. His love for his family, his incredibly wide-ranging interests, photography, cricket, Australia, family, you name it, it's there. I think what I'd like to do now is just to read two of his poems, ones that I don't think are in the selection that are in South. One which is one in the collection How Far Away Australia Is. And the first section in that book is all about science. They're exceedingly witty poems. A lot of them are rhyming. Oh, that's one thing I'd like to say about Tony. He was very good at knowing what form was appropriate for which poem. And if he was going to bring off a point at the end of his poem, he knew what a good punchline a rhyme was. If you can end a poem with a rhyme, wow, you remember the thing that's been said. This is not one of his rhyming ones. It's the one which is called Scientists, and I think it's about being a scientist, but I also think it's about being a poet, and I think it's about being a human being, and it's called Scientists. We are all scientists. We are born to be working at the bench, hands-on, learning techniques, gathering results, drawing conclusions, considering the next venture. Life in the lab is dangerous. Things blow up in our faces and we retreat, nursing our hurts, sometimes for years. What we learn transforms our world. Insights spur us to pulse-racing discoveries, rich rewards. And all the while our databases grow as we focus our inquiries. People seek our advice. We begin to think we know before we do the work. Our theories become predictable, new findings rarer. Fewer listen to us. That's the time to go back to school, to study new things, take new courses, get back on the bench, get our hands dirty again, build new reputations. For scientists, there is no end to what is waiting to be known. And I think that was true for Tony. And I must read you one little rhyming one, just so you realise how, yes, how funny it would be too. This is called Theories. Underneath the headline is Theories pass, the frog remains. Said by Jean Rostand, who is a French biologist. Theories pass, frogs remain, which is nice. So, Tony's poem. Theories pass, of course they do. The frog remains. Well, that's for sure. The bankrupt theory is replaced. The best of them becomes a law. The frog remains, but it will change, if not its face, perhaps its song. Survival causes stranger things, if Darwin's theory isn't wrong. He'll certainly make you laugh if you read his books. He'll make you laugh, and he'll sometimes make you cry. And I must read this poem if Jean and I can bear to read it without both of us weeping. He wrote this in one of my workshops. I think we've been talking about the importance of little phrases or odd words, like if you start off a poem with maybe, perhaps, or until, you don't know where the poem's going to go. It makes the poem very uncertain. So we've been starting from odd and unexpected phrases, and I think what he'd picked out of one of my inevitable envelopes was "and when," and the poem is called "And When." And when I try to put my love in words, but words that come are words about the day, and when the day is fractious and absurd, and seen as just like the sort of things I say, and when I say, why don't you? When I mean, I wish the world that always comes between us would pack its bags and journey to the moon, and moon and June are empty rhymes that grieve us, and rhyme itself is sadly out of tune. Then let tunes speak and music bring us near, and nearness say it all, and say it clear. That's Tony Turner.
Thank you.